Chosen ones, if you are hearing these words right now, it is not by chance. It is not an accident. This very moment has been divinely orchestrated, a sacred appointment between you and the voice of God. The creator of the universe, the one who spoke the stars into existence, has brought you here for a reason. He has a message for you, a revelation so powerful, so transformative, that once you hear it, your life will never be the same again. For far too long, you have been striving, struggling, carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. You have questioned, doubted, and wondered when your breakthrough would come. The weight of financial hardship, the uncertainty of tomorrow, the feeling of being stuck in an endless cycle of lack, it has drained you, exhausted you, perhaps even made you question your worth. But hear this today, your season of struggle is over. The chains of scarcity are breaking. The tide is turning. Your days of wondering if you will ever experience the fullness of life that God has promised are behind you. The abundance you have prayed for, the prosperity you have dreamed of, the divine provision that has seemed just out of reach, it is already on its way. For God has declared in His word, "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. These are not empty words. They are not vague promises or distant possibilities. They are divine guarantees, written in the eternal decree of heaven, sealed with the unshakable faithfulness of God Himself. You are not destined for lack. You are not created for a life of struggle. You are a child of the Most High, and His desire for you is abundance, overflow, and supernatural provision. The wealth that is coming your way is not the result of your toil alone, nor is it dependent on the conditions of this world. Your prosperity is not in the hands of men, the economy, or any earthly system. Your abundance is in the hands of God, and His resources are limitless. He has declared, "The silver is mine and the gold is mine," declares the Lord Almighty, Haggai 2 verse 8. When He is your provider, there is no shortage, no lack, no scarcity. What He has ordained for you cannot be stopped by circumstances, cannot be delayed by opposition, cannot be denied by the opinions of others. Now is the time to step into this truth. Now is the time to claim what has already been set aside for you. The floodgates of heaven are opening, and everything that has been held back is about to be released. Doors that have been shut will swing open. Resources you never expected will flow effortlessly into your life. Opportunities beyond your imagination will present themselves, and the provision you've longed for will become your new reality. But before we go any further, I want you to take a step of faith right now. Wherever you are, I want you to engage with this moment, to make a declaration that you are ready to receive what God has prepared for you. Hit that like button, not just as an action, but as a statement of faith, as a sign that you are aligning yourself with divine provision. Subscribe to this channel because God is speaking, and every word He delivers has the power to shift your life into alignment with His promises. And in the comments below, I invite you to type 777, the number of divine completion, the number that signifies the fulfillment of God's promises in your life. By typing it, you are not simply leaving a comment, you're making a prophetic declaration that your time of waiting is over, your breakthrough is here, and you're stepping boldly into the abundance that God has ordained for you. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what you're about to hear next is more than just words. It is an activation, a divine impartation that will set things into motion in your life. You're not here by accident. This is your moment. This is your time. The shift has already begun. Your past does not define you. Your struggles do not dictate your future. God has called you to greater things, and nothing can stop the blessings that are already moving toward you. Get ready, because your life is about to change in ways you never imagined. Your season of supernatural abundance begins now. Get ready, because what's coming next is beyond anything you've ever imagined. There comes a point in every journey when the struggle ceases and the blessings begin, a moment when the weight of uncertainty lifts and the divine flow of abundance takes its place. That moment, my friend, is now. For too long, you have carried the burden of provision as if it was solely your responsibility. You have labored, worried, and pushed yourself to exhaustion, believing that the weight of your financial security rested entirely on your shoulders. But today, you must hear this truth. It is no longer your duty to struggle. It is God's responsibility to provide for you. The Creator of the universe, the one who has orchestrated every moment of your life, has already set into motion an everlasting flow of abundance that will never run dry. This is not a wish, a possibility, or a hopeful thought. This is a divine guarantee. God has spoken over your life, and what He declares, no force on earth can reverse. Just as He rained down manna from heaven for the Israelites in the wilderness, Exodus 16 verse 4, just as He commanded ravens to feed Elijah during the drought, 1 Kings 17 verse 6, just as He multiplied 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed thousands, Matthew 14 verses 19 to 20. He will provide for you in ways you cannot yet fathom. His provision is supernatural, unlimited, and unstoppable. Imagine a river that never runs dry, a well that replenishes itself no matter how much is drawn from it. That is the nature of God's provision for you. You are not meant to live by the sweat of your brow alone, constantly battling to make ends meet. No, you were chosen for something greater. Your prosperity is not dependent on the economy, your job, or the limitations of this world. It is rooted in the unshakable foundation of God's faithfulness. The moment you embraced your divine calling, a shift occurred in the heavens. You stepped out of a season of struggle and into a life of supernatural provision. The uphill climb you once endured has turned into a path of divine favor, where you are carried effortlessly by His grace. You no longer have to fight for survival. Now, you are positioned to thrive. But understand this, divine abundance is not just about money. It is about a life overflowing in every area: your relationships, your health, your purpose, your peace. True wealth is not just having material riches. It is walking in the fullness of life that God desires for you. It is the ability to wake up each day free from anxiety, knowing that you are fully cared for. It is the joy of knowing that your provision is already secured, your path is already blessed, and your future is already written in prosperity. This is not because of your strength, intelligence, or hard work. It's not because of what you have done, but because of who God is. He has chosen you, not because you are perfect, but because His will for you is perfect. Your days of struggling to prove yourself are over. What awaits you now is a life of abundance that goes beyond anything you have ever imagined. And with this abundance comes a powerful confidence, not a confidence in yourself, but in God's unwavering commitment to you. You see, true confidence is not born from self-reliance, but from the absolute assurance that you are supported by a power greater than yourself. Jesus Himself told us in Matthew 6 verse 26, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? If God so carefully provides for the birds, how much more will He provide for you, His beloved child?" Think of the confidence of a child who never worries about their next meal, or whether they will have a place to sleep at night. They simply trust that their parents will take care of them. This is the same kind of confidence that God invites you to embrace, to walk through life with peace, without anxiety, without fear, to let go of the stress that comes from trying to control every outcome and trust that His plan is always perfect and unfolding for your good. From this moment on, you are free. Free from endless toil. Free from sleepless nights spent worrying about finances. Free from the burden of trying to figure it all out on your own. Because from now on, wealth is God's responsibility. Your only task is to align with His will, to trust in His timing, and to remain faithful as He moves on your behalf. The more you release control, the more space you create for God to work miracles in your life. The moment you surrender the need to make it happen and instead rest in the assurance that it is already happening, you will see blessings begin to chase you down. The doors that once seemed locked will suddenly swing open. The opportunities that seemed impossible will come to pass effortlessly. You will look back and realize that the very things you once struggled for have now been placed in your hands. This is your moment to step into divine provision, to embrace the life that God has already prepared for you. Let the heavens hear you. Let the divine shift begin. Your season of supernatural abundance starts now. This is not a passive waiting game. It is an active partnership with God, a journey of faith where each step forward in obedience unlocks doors of prosperity beyond your wildest imagination. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains, the kind of trust that allows you to walk on water, the kind of surrender that brings supernatural provision exactly when you need it. God is not just your provider. He is the master architect of the universe, the one who spoke galaxies into existence, who set the stars in the sky, and commands the sun to rise and fall. If he can carve out the oceans with his breath, if he can shape the mountains with his hands, if he can sustain all of creation with a single word, then surely he can provide for you. Nothing is too great, too difficult, or too far out of reach for him. And that includes the wealth, resources, and opportunities you need to fulfill your divine purpose. Many people live their lives weighed down by anxiety, constantly trying to figure out how to make things happen on their own. They stress about finances, chase after success, and exhaust themselves striving for provision that God has already set aside for them. But when you understand that wealth is God's responsibility, not yours, something incredible happens. You become free. Free from the pressure, free from the burden, free from the fear of lack. This is the kind of faith that Elijah had when he stood by the brook during a drought with no food, no visible means of survival, yet God sent ravens to feed him daily. 1 Kings 17 verses 4-6. It is the faith of the widow in Zarephath who, though she had only a handful of flour and a little oil, obeyed the word of the Lord's prophet and saw her supply miraculously multiply, never running out. 1 Kings 17 verses 14-16. It is the faith of Peter when Jesus told him to cast his net into the deep waters after an entire night of catching nothing. The result? An overflow so great that the nets began to break under the weight of the blessing. Luke 5 verses 4-6. This is the God you serve, the God who not only provides but overflows. When he takes on the responsibility of your prosperity, expect more than enough. Expect the kind of provision that not only meets your needs but empowers you to bless others. Expect the kind of abundance that allows you to give freely, live boldly, and walk confidently in your calling. But here's the key: you must remove every ounce of doubt. Doubt is the thief of blessings. It is the enemy's greatest weapon against your faith because he knows that a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. James 1 verses 6-8. But hear me now, God is not a man that he should lie. His promises are not temporary, conditional, or fragile. They are eternal, unshakable, and guaranteed. Numbers 23:19 declares, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and then not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? If he has spoken prosperity over your life, if he has declared that you are meant to live in abundance, then you can be sure that he will make a way. Your dreams are not too big for him. Your goals are not out of reach. What seems impossible in the natural realm is already accomplished in the spiritual. God has never been limited by human logic, and he won't start now. He is the God of the impossible. The Red Sea didn't part because it made sense. It parted because God commanded it. Walls didn't fall because of human strategy. They fell because of faithful obedience. And your provision won't come because of your effort alone. It will come because of your alignment with his divine plan. Now is the time to let go of hesitation, fear, and second-guessing. Now is the time to step boldly into the wealth that God has already prepared for you. Your breakthrough is already in motion. Your abundance is already on its way. This is your moment. Step into it. There is a lie that has kept many people trapped in a cycle of scarcity. The false belief that financial success is reserved for a select few, that only a privileged handful are meant to live in abundance, while the rest struggle to get by. Maybe you've been told that wealth is not for people like you, that you must accept a life of limitations, that you're unworthy of great prosperity. But hear me now, this is not the truth of God. You are not forgotten. You are not left behind. You are not destined for lack. You are chosen, handpicked by the Creator of the universe, for something greater than you have yet to see. Your life is not meant to be a constant battle for survival. It is meant to be a testimony of God's unshakable faithfulness and overwhelming abundance. The resources you have been praying for, the opportunities you have been seeking, the wealth you have only dreamed of, it is not just for your personal gain, but to equip you for your divine purpose. Whether that purpose is to help others, support ministries, build a legacy, or create something that changes the world, God is going to ensure that you have the resources to do it. The moment you cast out doubt, the moment you refuse to accept the lie that wealth is beyond your reach, you open the door for miracles. Because here is a truth that the enemy doesn't want you to grasp. God doesn't withhold abundance from His children. He is not a God of lack. He's not a God of just enough. He's the God of overflow. Psalm 35:27 declares, "Let the Lord be magnified, who delights in the prosperity of His servant." Do you hear that? God delights in your prosperity. He takes joy in blessing you, in meeting your needs, and positioning you for greatness. This is not about greed or self-indulgence. It is about stepping into the fullness of God's plan for your life, a plan that includes financial freedom, not financial bondage. Too many people walk through life weighed down by fear. Fear that they will never have enough, fear that they will always be one step behind, fear that their breakthrough will never come. But when you understand who your provider is, fear loses its grip on you. There is incredible power in knowing that God will provide. It gives you a deep, unshakable peace, a security that no economic downturn, no financial hardship, no worldly circumstance can take away from you. When you are certain that your needs will be met, you begin to live differently. You stop making decisions out of desperation. You stop living in survival mode. Instead, you move with boldness, knowing that God's provision is always just a step away. This is not blind faith. It is faith rooted in experience, in the undeniable reality that God has already provided for you time and time again. Look back over your life. Every breakthrough, every unexpected blessing, every open door, those were not accidents. Those were divine provisions, a testimony that God will continue to provide for you just as He always has. The more you meditate on this truth, the more it becomes the foundation of your life. When you know, truly know, that God will provide, you no longer have to fear the unknown. You don't have to fret about tomorrow because the Creator of the heavens and the earth has already gone ahead of you. He has already made a way. His plan for you is perfect, and His provision is guaranteed. But understand this, not everyone will celebrate your abundance. As you step into this divine wealth, as your life begins to reflect the favor of God, there will be those who question, those who doubt, those who even mock your success. But let me tell you something, they are not your concern. What God has spoken over your life is not subject to human opinion. Your abundance is not up for debate. Remember the story of Joseph. His own brothers mocked him, despised him, and threw him into a pit, thinking they had destroyed his future. But what they didn't realize was that God's hand was on his life. What seemed like his downfall was actually setting him up for his destiny. Years later, those same brothers who had once scorned him stood before him, desperate for his help. Because when God blesses you, no one can take it away. This is your reality. The favor on your life is irrevocable. The provision that is coming to you is unstoppable. God is establishing you, elevating you, setting you apart for a life of divine wealth and supernatural prosperity. So let go of doubt, release the fear, walk boldly into this new season of abundance, knowing that what God has promised is already unfolding before your eyes. There will always be voices of doubt, whispers of negativity, and those who look at your dreams and say, "It's impossible." There will be people who mock your aspirations, belittle your success, and question the blessings flowing into your life. But let me remind you of this undeniable truth: they do not hold your future. God does. No human opinion, no criticism, no jealous words can alter the destiny that God has already spoken over your life. When God calls you to prosperity, when He anoints you for greatness, no force on earth can stop it. Your wealth, your success, your divine increase, these are not merely for your personal gain. They are evidence of His favor, proof of His power, and a testimony to the world that He is a God who provides abundantly. The very blessings you are walking into are a declaration of His goodness, and no voice of doubt can silence that truth. Think about the life of Nehemiah, a man called by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. As soon as he began his mission, opposition arose. Sanballat and Tobiah mocked him, ridiculed his efforts, and tried to discourage him from fulfilling God's purpose. But Nehemiah did not stop. He did not engage in arguments. He simply kept building. He stayed focused on the vision God had given him, and in the end, the very people who mocked him were silenced by the work God had completed through him. Nehemiah 4 verses 1 to 6. That is exactly what will happen in your life. As you rise above the noise, as you fix your eyes on God's promises, you will watch as your abundance speaks for itself. Every doubt, every opposition, every naysayer will be left speechless as the undeniable evidence of God's favor unfolds before their very eyes. And here's something you must know: God's prosperity is not temporary. It is not fleeting, nor is it something you must constantly chase. The world teaches that success is the result of relentless toil, sleepless nights, and an exhausting pursuit of wealth. But God's way is different. His provision does not come from striving, it comes from trusting. His blessings are not the result of endless struggle. They flow when you walk in alignment with His will. Deuteronomy 28:2 declares, "All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the voice of the Lord your God." Did you catch that? The blessings will overtake you. You don't have to chase them, they will find you. When you are faithful, when you walk in obedience, the riches of heaven will flow into your life effortlessly. This is the ultimate freedom, living without fear of scarcity, without anxiety about where the next breakthrough will come from. It is walking with the confidence that your life is a reflection of God's divine plan, a plan not just for you, but for generations to come. The wealth God is releasing into your hands is not just for personal enjoyment. It is a tool, a kingdom resource, given to you so that you may fulfill your divine calling. With great wealth comes great responsibility, but this responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. You are now in a position to impact lives, transform communities, and leave a legacy that will continue long after you. Your financial abundance is not just about comfort. It is about kingdom expansion. It is about helping those in need, funding ministries, and spreading the love of God in ways you never imagined. Look at the story of Solomon, a man whom God blessed with wisdom, influence, and immeasurable wealth. But Solomon understood that his wealth was not just for himself. He used his resources to build the temple of the Lord, a place of worship that stood as a testament to God's greatness for generations. 1 Kings 6 verses 1 to 38. This is what divine prosperity looks like. It is wealth with purpose, riches with impact, financial blessing that transforms the world around you. And here is the secret: the more you give, the more you will receive. This is the very principle of abundance: what you sow, you reap. As you use your resources to bless others, as you pour into God's kingdom, you will see an even greater overflow of blessings coming into your life. It is an unstoppable cycle of provision, a divine economy where generosity multiplies wealth rather than depleting it. Luke 6:38 affirms this truth. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. The more you open your hands to give, the more God will fill them again and again. This is what true prosperity looks like. It is not just about accumulating riches. It is about using your wealth as a vehicle for love, healing, and transformation. It is about making a lasting impact, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. As you step fully into this divine calling, as you embrace the prosperity that God has already ordained for you, I encourage you to release any lingering doubt, fear, or hesitation. Step boldly into this season of overflow, expansion, and supernatural provision. If this word has stirred something in your heart, if you are ready to walk in the fullness of God's abundance, declare it now. Type, "I am ready," in the comments below as an act of faith, as a prophetic statement that you are stepping into the greatest season of your life. This is your time. Rise, receive, and walk in the wealth that was always meant to be yours. Every blessing that flows into your life is not just a moment of favor. It is a divine reflection of God's unchanging character and His unwavering commitment to see you flourish. It is evidence that He sees you, He knows you, and He is actively working on your behalf. Think back on the times in your life when you felt helpless, when you had no answers, when you reached the end of your strength, and suddenly, a door opened, a way was made, provision arrived at just the right moment. Maybe it was a financial breakthrough that came when you needed it most, a miraculous healing when all hope seemed lost, or an opportunity that appeared out of nowhere and changed your entire future. That was not coincidence, that was God. Perhaps you've experienced His faithfulness not just in the grand, miraculous moments, but in the quiet, everyday blessings, the small provisions, the unexpected kindness, the subtle reminders that He is always near. Divine richness is not just found in big victories. It is woven into the steady, unshakable provision that sustains you day by day. Every sunrise that greets you, every breath in your lungs, every meal on your table, every moment of peace in your heart, these are all signs of a God who never fails. Deuteronomy 8:18 declares, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors, as it is today." The abundance in your life is not the result of your efforts alone. It is a gift, an inheritance, a fulfillment of His promises. And because God is faithful, you can trust that this divine flow of blessings will continue, not just today, but for the rest of your life. When you shift your perspective from striving to receiving, from effort to grace, everything changes. You realize that you are not just surviving, you are thriving. You're no longer chasing blessings. Blessings are chasing you. Yet, as you step into this abundant life, there will be those who doubt your success, those who mock the favor upon you, those who question why you are so blessed. But here's the truth: they cannot touch what God has blessed. No amount of criticism, judgment, or negativity can diminish what He has ordained for you. If God has set His favor upon your life, if He has decreed prosperity over you, then who can stand against it? Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord." Your wealth, your success, your divine increase are not about proving others wrong. They are about fulfilling the purpose God has placed upon your life. Those who once mocked you will one day stand in awe of what God has done. They will see that it was never about your ability, but about His favor, His grace, His power working through you. And in time, your testimony will speak louder than their doubts. But remember this: those who criticize often do so from their own insecurities, from a place of misunderstanding. Their opinions do not define your reality. God's word does. His promises do. Stand firm in His truth, and do not let negativity sway you. Keep your eyes on the vision He has given you. Stay faithful to your calling. As you walk in the fullness of His provision, you will see mockers fade into silence, and what will remain is the undeniable evidence of God's goodness in your life. Living in God's abundance is more than financial wealth. It is total transformation. It is peace in your mind, joy in your spirit, strength in your body, clarity in your purpose, and favor in everything you touch. When you truly step into this divine prosperity, lack becomes a foreign concept, scarcity is replaced with sufficiency, fear is replaced with faith. This is not just an external change, it is an inner awakening. It is the deep, unshakable knowing that your needs will always be met. It is stepping into each day with confidence, peace, and gratitude because you know that your Creator is walking with you, orchestrating every detail of your life. The journey to divine abundance is not overnight. It is a process of growing in trust, deepening your faith, and learning to walk in alignment with God's plan. As you continue on this path, you will begin to witness miraculous breakthroughs, unexpected doors opening, opportunities that seem too good to be true. But they will be true, because God is faithful. And here's the greatest revelation: abundance is not about having everything you want. It is about receiving everything you need and more. When you live in the fullness of God's provision, you no longer fear not having enough. You no longer worry about tomorrow because your future is secure in His hands. You were created for abundance. You were destined for overflow. And now, it is time to fully embrace it. This is the life God has called you to, a life of peace, abundance, and unshakable joy. It is not a life of uncertainty, where you constantly wonder if you are on the right path. Nor is it a life of fear, where you worry about how things will unfold. No, this is a life where you walk in divine assurance, knowing that every step forward is already prepared, every need is already met, and every blessing is already in motion. Stepping into wealth is not about leaping into the unknown blindly. It is about moving forward with confidence, knowing that God has already gone ahead of you, clearing the way, making provision, and aligning opportunities that you cannot yet see. When you understand this, you no longer hesitate, no longer second-guess your decisions. You step boldly into new ventures, investments, and opportunities because you're not relying on your own strength. You're relying on the one who holds all things together. Think of Abraham, called by God to leave everything familiar behind and walk toward a promise he had never seen. He had no road map, no blueprint, only the voice of God telling him to go. And yet, because of his faith, he became the father of many nations. Genesis 12 verses 1 to 3. What would have happened if Abraham had let fear stop him? If he had doubted the divine assurance that God had already prepared the way? Now, let me ask you, what blessings are waiting for you on the other side of your obedience? Divine wealth is not something you chase after. It is something that follows you as you remain faithful. Scripture says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Psalm 23 verse 6. When you walk in alignment with God's will, favor becomes your shadow. Wealth is no longer something you have to fight for. It flows into your life effortlessly, a natural byproduct of living under His provision. Your prosperity is not just for you, it is a testimony of God's faithfulness. Every dollar, every breakthrough, every resource that comes into your hands is evidence that God is fulfilling His promises. And because His word cannot return void, Isaiah 55 verse 11, your life will be living proof that He is a provider, a sustainer, and the source of all abundance. The blessings you receive are not just for this moment, they are for generations to come. When God blesses, He does not bless partially. He blesses completely, eternally, and abundantly. This is why Proverbs 13 verse 22 tells us, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." The wealth you are stepping into will not only transform your life, but it will also impact your family, your community, and the world around you. And yes, there will be those who doubt. There will be those who question why you are so blessed, why things seem to work in your favor, why doors open effortlessly for you. But let me remind you of this: no one can curse what God has blessed. No amount of criticism, no words of doubt, no judgment can alter the favor upon your life. When God sets His hand upon you, His blessing is irreversible. This is your time to embrace the wealth God has promised you, not temporary riches, but divine wealth, eternal, overflowing, and boundless. This provision knows no limits, no restrictions, and no ceilings. God's supply is endless, like the vastness of the ocean, continually replenishing itself no matter how much is drawn from it. This is the kind of abundance you're stepping into. Jesus Himself demonstrated this when He fed 5,000 people with just 5 loaves and 2 fish, Matthew 14 verses 13 to 21. The world operates in scarcity, believing that if you take from a small supply, it will run out. But in God's kingdom, the more you give, the more you receive. What should have been insufficient became more than enough. And this is your inheritance. You are no longer bound by the limitations of this world. You are aligned with the abundance of heaven. While the world operates in fear, lack, and struggle, you operate in divine overflow. While others toil and worry, you rest and receive. While others try to control their future, you walk in the certainty that God has already secured yours. And let me remind you, wealth is not just for personal enjoyment. It is a tool for purpose, a resource for impact, and a blessing meant to be shared. As you step into greater financial freedom, you become a vessel through which God's provision flows to others. You will have the ability to uplift, to build, to heal, and to change lives. Your wealth will transform communities, restore families, and be a beacon of God's goodness in a world that desperately needs it. And here's the greatest revelation: the more you give, the more you will receive. This is the principle of divine abundance. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6 verse 38. Your generosity creates a cycle of blessing that never stops. The more you pour out, the more God will refill your hands, because He trusts those who steward His riches for His glory. So now, the only question is, Are you ready to receive? Because this moment is not by accident. You were meant to hear this. This is your confirmation, your reminder, your divine call to step into the fullness of what God has already prepared for you. Stepping into the overflow, embracing the fullness of God's provision. Divine wealth is not merely about accumulating material possessions. It is about stepping into a life where every need is met, where every area is enriched, and where the abundance of heaven flows freely into your existence. God's provision is holistic. It touches your emotional well-being, your spiritual depth, your physical health, your relationships, your dreams, and your purpose. His blessings are not confined to finances alone. They are the foundation upon which you build a life of peace, joy, and supernatural overflow. When you walk in alignment with His divine plan, scarcity becomes a foreign concept, and lack no longer holds a place in your life. Many struggle to believe that God wants them to prosper. They have been conditioned to think that wealth is reserved for a select few or that they must live in constant toil to achieve even the smallest success. But this is not the nature of the God you serve. He is not a God of barely enough. He is the God of more than enough. His provision does not come in small portions, it overflows. Psalm 23:5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." This is the life God has called you to, a life where your cup never runs dry, where your needs are not just met but exceeded, where His favor surrounds you like a shield. The moment you embrace this truth, your entire perspective shifts. What once seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. The things you used to struggle for now come effortlessly. Doors that once remained shut swing open on their own. The divine favor upon you begins to create opportunities that no human effort could orchestrate. You step into a reality where you're not chasing blessings. Blessings are chasing you. Think about the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17 verses 8 to 16. She was preparing to eat her last meal with her son and then die, believing that there was no way out of her poverty. But when the prophet Elijah came and gave her a word from the Lord, something shifted. She was instructed to give out of her lack, to take the little oil and flour she had left and use it to feed the prophet first. In the natural, this made no sense. How could giving away her last meal possibly result in abundance? But she obeyed, and because of her faith, her oil never ran out, and her flour never diminished. What should have been her last meal became the beginning of supernatural provision. This is what happens when you trust God's economy over the world's economy. The world says, "Hold on to what you have because there is not enough." But God says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." Luke 6 verse 38. This divine wealth is not a coincidence. It is a direct result of your alignment with God's will. When you place your trust in Him, He releases opportunities, connections, and breakthroughs that surpass human understanding. He opens doors no one can shut. He creates pathways where none existed before. Isaiah 43 verse 19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This is what happens when you step into the overflow. You begin to experience miracles that defy human logic, breakthroughs that come from places you never expected. But here is the secret. Divine abundance is not received through striving. It is received through surrender. The world tells you that success requires relentless toil, sleepless nights, and an endless pursuit of wealth. But God's way is different. His riches do not come from exhaustion, they come from trust. When you release control and align yourself with His perfect timing, you enter into a supernatural flow where blessings come effortlessly. Jesus demonstrated this when He instructed Peter to cast his net after a long night of catching nothing. Luke 5 verses 4 to 7. Peter had worked tirelessly, using all his skill, yet had caught nothing. But the moment he obeyed Jesus and cast his net again, this time in faith, not in his own effort, the catch was so great that his boat began to sink under the weight of the blessing. What had been impossible through human effort became an overflow through divine intervention. This is how God's provision works. It is not about how hard you work. It is about how aligned you are with His word. This is not a season of scarcity. This is your season of divine abundance. You are stepping into a time where the favor of God will overtake you. Deuteronomy 28 verse 2 declares, "All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God." This means that you will not have to chase after blessings. They will find you. You will wake up and discover that favor is waiting at your doorstep. You will walk into rooms where opportunities are already prepared for you. You will receive breakthroughs that you didn't even pray for. This is what happens